Hello, welcome back to 1874, the podcast. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by the Athletics' Gregg Evans to look back over Chelsea 3, Aston Villa 0, a terrible day at Stamford Bridge. This show is sponsored by NordVPN, and you can get a huge discount and 4 months free if you visit 1874.io/NordVPN. It's completely risk-free because Nord offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. We'll hear a little bit more about them later on in the show, and all the info is in the description as well. Greg, how are you? You might have to carry this podcast because I've already done a podcast of sorts today with Claret and Blue. I've been with all the guys from Claret and Blue today, and then I went to the German market for a few beers, so I look a bit red actually. So yeah, you may have to carry.
It's not sunburn.
It's not definitely not sunburn, but yeah, you might have to carry the show a little bit today, Greg. How do you feel about
that? Yeah, ready for it. Feeling okay, I suppose.
That's good.
Feeling all right. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit unusual doing it at this time of the night, but yeah, mitigating circumstances and all that. But how many beers have you had in the last 24 hours?
To be fair, considering I went to Chelsea yesterday, I think I've probably had 6 in 24 hours. So I don't think that's not over the top, is it? It's not over the top.
Not.
No, but I
know to have 6 in 90 minutes before. So.
I feel more tired than anything. I'm just very concerned generally about how red I look.
No, you don't.
It's cold outside at the market. I was at the German market. It's cold there.
A couple of beers usually give you a bit of a flush as well, doesn't it? To be fair, and it does make you a bit tired. I always think 2-3 beers is like the worst number to have. Yeah, you need 4. You need 4 plus, I think. And then you start enjoying it. But look, we're not here to talk about beer, are we? No. As refreshing as that sounds, as I haven't had a beer for maybe 8 days. So
no, I mean I'm always quite honest and open anyway. But after a few beers, I can be a bit loose.
Right, let's go then. Let's see what.
We'll see how it goes. Quick shout out to one of the guys I was just having a beer with, young up and comer on YouTube. Max Stokes wanted me to give him a shout out. So shout out to Max Stokes, Villa on tour. He wanted it doesn't need the publicity because he just won an award, to be fair, for being the best club content creator. But congratulations to him. But yeah, he wanted a shout out on the pod and he didn't think I'd do it. So I've just done it. Greg, awful day at Stamford Bridge yesterday. I actually genuinely, I don't think I enjoyed a second of the game, which is not something I like saying. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I really think Villa did anything well. We are in a little bit of a sorry state at the moment.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, look, the title of our podcast is Aston Villa are close to a crisis, and
curated by Gregg Evans. That title,
well, it was because look, you can't go 8 games and not be and your form. Sorry, you cannot go 8 games without a win and your form not be heavily scrutinised in the way that we're perhaps going to go through today and others will do before the next game. What I would say is that Villa have got 2 games coming up, and without sort of ducking out of how bad their form is at the moment, it can be quickly turned around, and a win on Wednesday and a win on Saturday puts an end to everything. And I'm sure Villa will be back in a much better situation if they can get 6 points from the next 2 games. Because look, you have a look at the table, and they're not too far behind. The only issue, the main issue that I've got with Villa's form is this cannot continue for much longer, because if you are chasing a top 4 place, which Villa are, there's only so many games that you can't win, because this is not like other seasons where Villa have had to sort of get through Premier League campaigns and survive in the Premier League and then get towards mid-table and then try and kick on. This is different. You got to win lots of games to finish 4th, to finish in the top 4. And at the moment, let's take Man City out of the equation because they're just a strange team at the moment, but you would never back against them to finish in the top 4, even in the form that they're in. There are 3, very standout teams in the division at the moment. Liverpool by far the best. Arsenal look excellent since Odegaard's come back, and Chelsea. That everybody who watched the game yesterday and who haven't seen Chelsea much this season will know that they look a really good side now, and they're young, hungry, energetic. It was only a matter of time, I think, before those players started to gel. The manager, whoever that might have been, just had to find the right group of players, and it seems like he's got a pretty settled 11, 12, 13 at the moment that look pretty solid. So So yeah, it's a worry for Villa, a real big concern, because they're not at it at all. They look tired, and I'm not going to go down the road of making an excuse of the Champions League, and because most of those Villa players are used to a schedule now of playing 2-3 times a week. They did it a lot last year and did it to very good effect. The difference, which I just keep saying week after week, is that the level of the games are just so tough, so mentally and physically. They're becoming more drained quicker because the games are just so tough. You look really tired. Am I boring you?
No, I don't buy the tiredness thing.
No,
I
I
can't.
don't. No,
I
no, no,
can't. A lot of people.
excuse,
I've heard a
but
few people say,
how
"I'm not saying
can
you."
you? How can you? I'm not buying it. Sorry, I'm not going down. I'm not using that as an excuse for Villa's form. Let's start there. The players are used to the schedule because they've done it last year, which I've already said. But anybody watching that team yesterday would have said they looked tired, and they did. So, whatever, for whatever reason they are looking tired, they are looking tired. You can't get away from that. They look tired.
We just. I still genuinely don't think Villa are defending much different to how they've defended over the last 12 months generally, albeit yesterday they made a lot of mistakes, a lot of basic mistakes. And to be honest, I think the score could have been more, particularly at half-time, the way Villa were almost giving the ball away at ease, like playing out from the back. The difference for me that Stark is going forward. They're so pedestrian now. They're so slow. They're just not building up in the same way that they did last season, and I can't put my finger on what the reason is for that. I know there's a couple of different players playing, or a couple of different players who aren't there now, who were there at this stage last season, who were maybe a big part of Villa in transition in terms of Louise moving the ball quickly and Diaby being good running into space. But the attacking players, they just all look a little bit clueless at the moment, so devoid of ideas, so devoid of creativity. Cannon just said the word there, the perfect word, blunt. Like the cutting edge has gone completely. They were terrible defensively yesterday. Like really looked like they could concede every time they were playing the ball out from the back. But generally, I don't think they're defending much different to what they were doing last season. And I said this to you last week, that we're kind of attacking so badly that's leading to more pressure on the defense. But what do you're more neutral than me. So what is it you think when you see Villa going forward now? What's so different to last season?
Their ball carrying players aren't running with the ball as well as they used to be.
Is there less space there this season than was there last season for players?
There's a lot of things. I think there's a lot of ways you can look at it in a lot of ways. Teams have started to work Villa out a little bit more in the Premier League. There's no doubt about that. I think the level of the opposition is stronger. The lower ranked teams are getting better, I think, and certainly the teams that finished underneath Villa are stronger this year, because there weren't many last year that finished underneath them. There's a change in personnel in terms of Villa going forward. There's Ramsey's not around as often as he was.
He wasn't there last season, Ramsey.
When Villa were playing well, he was, though, at times, and Rodgers was fresher than he is now, and Rodgers does not look fresh to me at all. Watkins isn't taking his chances. There was the classic one yesterday where he was 1-on-1. Those were the chances that were going in last year. Villa were overperforming in attack, and now expectations have increased. Supporters expect to win more games than they lose now. So when it goes against them, it feels like everything's going wrong. Now, we've gone over and over about Diaby. He's not around. Bailey isn't at the level that he was last year when he was coming off the bench and when he was starting some games. So, I've named 4 or 5 players there that aren't quite at it, and when 1 or 2 are not at it in the Premier League, it's a problem. When so many are not at it, it becomes a massive issue, and hence why we've mentioned it in the title. They're close to a crisis, Villa are, and they are. And there's Unai Emery was asked on Friday about, have the team not recovered from that 96th minute equaliser against Bournemouth? Because I think they haven't. I think it all stems back from that day. You see that game out, completely different outlook on the fixtures ahead, and they haven't recovered from that. And Emery, although he didn't admit it, he said these are the frustrating moments, where we're better than the team that we're playing against, but we don't see out the game. And I've said for weeks to you, Dan, the most frustrating results for Villa are the draws. It's not the defeats.
We agree on that.
It's the draws, but they are blunt in attack at the moment, but defensively they're just not at it either. Martinez wasn't at it yesterday. Pau Torres has made too many individual mistakes, I think. They've missed Cash when he's not around, and Luka Dean hasn't been at the level that he was last year. So when it's not like that, and Kamara hasn't been around either, and Douglas Luiz has gone, I just there's a lot to get into, and we can't just keep picking out excuses. Villa just aren't performing as well as they have been, and in some ways, perhaps it's showing just what a genius Emery was last year, that he was able to get these players who, respectfully, are not as good as the teams above them. As a collective, they're not at the squad isn't at the level as of Arsenal and Liverpool and Man City. So,
yeah, football's weird, isn't it? Because 12 months ago, Villa felt streets ahead of Chelsea, but then I'm watching Chelsea yesterday, and they look streets ahead of Villa a year on. So football can change very quickly, and it's
very quickly.
It's important to say, these results could turn around very quickly. And like you said, 2 wins in the next week, and it feels a lot better for Villa. Although, got to admit, I'm personally worried about the next 2 games for various reasons. If we take it right back, I saw a lot of things yesterday that worry me. And look, I love this team. I love Unai Emery. I hate having to unpick things and criticise these players and criticise Emery, because they brought me some of the happiest days I've ever had as a Villa fan over the last 2 years. But it's not clicking at the moment, and you have to look at it and you have to evaluate it. And I have to take it right back to the team selection. I can't understand for the life of me why Leon Bailey wasn't starting yesterday. Not saying he's been brilliant, but the shoots of recovery have been there over the last couple of games. It's probably his best game of the season against Juventus. I get that you have to rotate, but if you're going to play Philogene, you don't play him away at Chelsea for me. You play him in one of these other 2 games that's coming up. And I think at the moment Villa have got a lot of attackers that kind of they're good players playing badly, out of form at the moment. A lot of the players that play in the attacking positions for Villa, you could level that at any of them. I don't want to be cruel. I don't want to pick on one person, because you can't you shouldn't be singling players out at the moment. Although saying that, I'm probably about to do it with what I say. Philogene at the moment, to me, and he may well take time, and in a year's time we may be talking differently about him. At the moment, to me, he doesn't look up to the required level. So playing him up against what's a really banging form Chelsea team over Bailey, that doesn't make sense. And he's in a way culpable for the first goal. And watching him all through the game, he didn't really do anything. He wasn't alone in that. But I'm yet to see anything from him this season that tells me he should be starting games. And then you're throwing him in against Chelsea and taking out Bailey, who I think's just had 2 decent games. And I feel like by taking Bailey out, you're almost resetting him and taking him back to 0. Do you see my frustration with that?
I do, and I agree with pretty much everything that you've said there. I mean, we probably could have said at the start of the season that Philogene wasn't going to be as good as Diaby. We kind of knew that. It was a bit of a risk that Emery had taken, but he backed himself to go and get this player who he believes in to really start firing. He hasn't yet. He's waiting for a moment. He underperformed against Chelsea. He didn't look at it, to me, defensively and in attack. We don't know the situation with Bailey. We do not know what the medical department tell the manager. How he's been suffering with injuries for so long. He's had niggles. Sometimes players need to be managed in the right way. They can't just keep starting and playing every game. And the loads of these players, they're pushed to the limit. Only the people internally at Bodymore Heath will know how much they can push him. So perhaps that was a reason why, he didn't start. So many games coming up. At some point he's going to have to drop out of the team for Philogene. So I get your point. It's difficult against why against Chelsea, but at some point it would have had to happen anyway. So yeah, Villa are just feeling it a little bit. They need a spark. They need something to change, and I believe it can come on Wednesday. I do fancy them to get. Yeah, I know, but I do fancy them to get the better of Brentford, and then they can reset and rebuild from there. But yeah, I mean, there was nothing to like yesterday about it. It was so It was so disappointing because we just know now how good Villa can be when they're on it, and that they can go and take on any team and compete. And they did. I'm not questioning the players' application. That would be wrong, but they just didn't really compete, did they?
Didn't click. It's not clicking in any which way at the moment. The other thing that really concerned me, and look, I've said before on this podcast, I'm no body language expert, but I was at the game and I could see the players warming up. People are kind of saying at the moment something must be going on behind the scenes, and what I'm about to say probably adds fuel to that fire. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just telling you as a journalist what I saw at the game yesterday, and on what I didn't really like what I was seeing on the pitch. I was trying to kind of not trying to watch what was happening on the pitch because at times it was very, very alarming. So I'm watching the subs warm up. So Bailey, Buendia, Duran, and I'm watching the way they're kind of speaking to each other and the gesticulations that if that's even a word, that they're kind of making, and they're like pointing at things that are going on the pitch and throwing up their arms up in the air. It's almost as if they're saying, "Why is he playing? I should be playing. What am I doing here on the bench?" From watching the subs and the way they communicated with each other and the way they were talking, to me, something didn't look right. They didn't look happy. It was almost like they're debating that they should be in the team, and why is he playing? Why is he playing? What's going on here? Why does this keep happening? And I saw that a lot. I was watching it a lot with the players warming up, and again, that just doesn't speak of being a harmonious camp at the moment. As I've said, people are speculating there's something going on behind the scenes. I've witnessed that. I've seen it. I'm asking you: is there something more going on, or is it just that it's just not clicking on the pitch?
Well, look, let's take the individuals first. Bailey's a little rocket anyway. He's fiery as they come. Buendia, excuse me, Buendia. Yeah. Sorry, not Bailey. But Buendia is as fiery as they come, and in small-sided games, in training, if he's on the wrong end of a defeat, he gets frustrated. When it's winter, he'll throw his gloves down in anger when he's losing. So that's the type of character he's. The typical Argentinian sort of personality. He always wants to win. He's very up for it. And we've known that for years. So if he's waving his hands around and complaining from the sidelines, we don't know exactly what he's saying there, but yeah, of course he wants to be playing, and we know Duran desperately wants to be playing. Everyone on that bench wants to be playing. There's no footballer really.
Is it normal then
that doesn't want to be playing? Yeah, it's normal for players to want to come on. And we don't know what they're talking about on the sidelines. They might be saying we've worked on this and they're not doing this, and it could be a system thing or a structural thing, and they're like, we've worked on this and this is what the manager told us that we should be doing, and it's not working, or this is what he should be doing here. We don't know, do we? But when a team hasn't won for 7 games or 8 games now, it starts to become frustrating for the players. The camp gradually starts to go down, and it wears away all the things that were working so well previously. And I mentioned this at the very start when Unai Emery took over, right? We knew that he would be intense, majorly intense, and we knew that the meetings would be longer with the players. And when defeats start happening regular, you do not, as a player, want to sit in a meeting for 3 hours listening to the manager. And that's just football across the board. No one wants to do that when they're losing, and slowly starts to erode away. Grate on you. So it's so difficult for the manager at the moment because he's got to find the right words to motivate these players now. And he's not going to change in his outlook because he's as intense as they come, and when they're losing, he's as moody as they come because he wants to get it right. So he's not going to change, and the players they never really know what's happening. The schedules are never set up longer than a fortnight in advance, so it could be the case of, right, you're off tomorrow, lads, go and rest up. They didn't train on Friday, for example, and I think quite a few of them were surprised ahead of the game, and we tried to freshen things up. Gave them the day off. There was a light recovery session after after the Juventus game, because I think the manager thinks that the more important day to rest is 2 days after the match day on a night. So, so they were off on Friday. That was supposed to give them the boost that they needed and the impetus to go and train hard on Saturday and then go and get a result on Sunday. But it didn't work. So it's tough for the manager at the moment. He's got to find the right words, the schedule, the right tactics. But there's 2 games coming up now, and there's he jokes around with when he first came in. There was a week where Villa had a Saturday to Saturday period and he was kind of like, there's so much free time. We've got so much work that we can do in this period, and he has maintained all the way through that he wants to fix things through games, not training. He prefers the games to come thick and fast, so that'll suit him hopefully.
Okay, third thing for I've endless worries right now. Third big thing in my worry list is first chance in every game seems to be going in at the moment. They're not compact enough at the start of games. So Palace recently, first chance, goal. Chelsea yesterday, first chance, goal. You're giving yourselves a massive mountain to climb every week because you go in behind, and that's not sustainable. That can't continue, but it's something that feels like it's happening quite a lot.
Yeah, and it was happened a few times, didn't it, last season? But there were so many occasions Villa came back from it.
Yeah, but that feels like it's gone now, doesn't it?
I mean, it does, because Villa are on a run of 8 games without a win. But it's a bad period. Let's not forget all the good work that happened previously, and this team's good enough to go and get go on another run. It's just got to change at some point, but. You still never rule Villa out. Even when they went 1-0 down at Chelsea, I thought there's a chance, although, it quickly became clear that this was a very different game. So it was a little bit of a worry to me. But, I feel like even if they lose the first goal on Wednesday, I feel they can get it back. So I think they've still recovered the most points from winning positions, haven't they, Villa, in the Premier League? So
it doesn't feel like it at the moment, but you're probably right, because they did it a few times at the start of the season, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, just thought they're playing out from the back yesterday in front of the away fans. Like it was nervy. It wasn't precise. They were playing themselves into trouble. You've got the ridiculous indirect free kick that's given away. I'm not saying it was a deliberate pass back, but you're giving the referee the chance to make a decision there with the home fans all screaming for a pass back. And fair play, they defended that really well and got themselves out of it like really, really well. And like 10 minutes later, Martinez passing the ball to Jackson, and that should be a goal.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They're making elementary mistakes at the moment.
Like
we were doing before. Is that because there's low confidence now, but they're trying to stick to the principles? I don't know.
Yeah, look, they are making mistakes. It's not as crisp as it was previously, but sometimes you have to remember that there is another team involved, and Chelsea were excellent. So well organised. They knew exactly what they were doing. Villa aren't a pressing team, and there's nothing wrong with that. Pressing is such a modern thing now, and lots of sets of supporters think, well, why don't we press? Pressing's the modern in thing. Villa are brilliant on the transition. They were the best transition team in the country last year. They have their own way of playing. Occasionally they will press, but not to the level that Chelsea did yesterday. Chelsea have Chelsea are developing a way of playing, and clearly, pressing from the front. With Jackson pretty much the trigger is working for them. It's working for them at the moment. They were excellent yesterday. They put Villa's back line under a lot of pressure. And the 2 moments that you mentioned earlier was because of that. There was no way out. They were on top of them, and it was hard to play out. So, and Tielemans for me looked tired.
Leggy,
leggy, however you want to describe it. He looked tired to me. And that's just not what you need. You need those midfield players to be as fit and fresh as possible when you're up against a team that presses like that.
Yeah, I mean, the headline news since is Emery Martinez, and we'll talk about that in a little second. But first, let's hear a little bit more about our sponsors, NordVPN. 1874 is proudly sponsored by NordVPN, so when you can't watch it, we want to help you. NordVPN is a secure and private service which works on pretty much any device, including your laptop, mobile, and television. So if you want to watch some live content, it allows you to appear like you're in another country. And whilst you're connected, no one else can find out what you're doing, including your internet service provider. Beyond this, the service also has threat protection baked in to protect you from intrusive website ads and malware, which is pretty handy for you. As part of NordVPN support performance for free, this also includes Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. All you've got to do is go to 1874.io/NordVPN and sign up. All the details are also in the description. As always, we're very grateful to anyone that signs up. We know that money is tight, but if you think NordVPN will help you out, it will also help keep the channel running and help us too. Yeah, thanks very much to NordVPN for continuing to sponsor us. And if you want to find out a little bit more about them, then the link is in the description to sort that and see how they can help you watch a little bit more football in your life if you don't get enough in already. Before we go on to Emery Martinez, just need to shout out the show that I've recorded today for the Claret and Blue podcast with Rollo, Ty Bracey, James Rushton, Max Stokes, John Townley, Kendrick was there as well. Like we did like a Christmas game show. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like I think it's out on the 22nd of December or something like that. John Townley has provided me with one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life today. So watch out for that when it comes out on the Claret and Blue podcast. It's a Christmas special. Honestly, it'll be well worth your time. That's some happy news. In sad news, Greg, and I don't know how much you know about this personally now. Emery Martinez obviously went off at half time yesterday for Robin Olsen. He actually signalled to the bench that he wanted to come off probably 10 minutes before half time, and they didn't do it. They waited till half time. Been in hospital, got a fracture in his finger, I believe. I've no idea how long that's going to keep him out for, but if it's one game, if it's two games, if it's a month, if it's 2 months, Villa can't afford to be without him for any period of time.
No, when Emery Martinez signals that he wants to come off, it's problems, because this is a man that will do anything to play, and there has been multiple occasions where he probably should have come off previously for Aston Villa and has stayed on because he's so committed to the cause. He loves playing. Big problem if he's around. If he's not around, there is. I mean, there's nobody quite like him. Is there? And I'm sorry, Robin Olsen, but I just never feel confident for Villa when he's in goal. Be that because of Villa's struggles for so many years since he's been at the club. I just think there's so many games that I can just think that he's played and it's gone wrong. He seems to concede so many goals. Has had a couple of games where it's gone all right for him and made a decent double save, I think, didn't he, yesterday? So I'm trying not to be too negative. I just feel like that I don't feel confident when he's in there, and I think every Aston Villa supporter will feel nervous without Emery Martinez. They just will, because he's so solid. He's he's the glue that sticks that defence together. He makes save after save. I mean, look, he made a couple of mistakes yesterday, a couple of big mistakes, but look how he backs them up with saves. He's brilliant.
Even when he made that mistake, save immediately, isn't
amazing. Like as a shot stopper and somebody to try and keep the ball out of the net. He's just amazing. So yeah, it's a worry, it's a concern, but I don't know how long he's going to be out for. We don't know at this point in time, but the longer it is, the worse it's going to be for Villa. I'm sure that.
It's like the last thing they need, isn't it? It's like things aren't going great, and even if things were going well, him going out is an absolute disaster. When things aren't going well and he's going to be out, it feels like the end of the world. I'm the same as you. I don't dislike Robin Olsen. I don't want to pick on him. I don't want to criticise him, but I'm the same as you. My confidence in him is so low. I've spoke to Cuts about him before. I spoke to Jed Steer about him, and they both tell me, he's really good guy, good goalkeeper. But
same like
what I see in the games doesn't fill me with confidence. And Kevin James is saying here, where's Gauchi?
Mm-hmm.
Robin Olsen, in all likelihood, isn't going to be here next season.
No,
signed Joe Gauchi. Should he not be number 2 right now, Greg?
Well, I mean, look, that's down to Javi Garcia. He sees them every day. He works with them every day. If Robin Olsen is he's coming on and being on the bench, that's because the coaching team think that he's the second best goalkeeper at the club. So, who are we to argue with that when they see them every day and they're the qualified experts? Emery listens intently to what Javi Garcia has, because he's worked with him for many years. When he went to Arsenal and did his interview, it was Javi who translated into English for him. So, he's somebody he relies heavily on and trusts. So if he's training with Robin Olsen every day and seeing that, that he's performing well, then that's why he's there. We just have to go with that.
I mean, I point out at this point, we usually do these shows in the morning on a Monday. Over 1,000 people live with us.
Wow, that's nice. Yeah. That's great.
Feels a big number, doesn't it? 1,000.
Yeah, because there's usually probably half of that in the morning. So, thanks to everybody who's listening. Dan's had 3 beers for anyone who missed the start. So, yeah, if I'm talking more, then that's probably why.
So, but you came up with the title for today's show, "Are Aston Villa in crisis?" In conclusion, Greg, do you think they are in crisis?
Again, I'm backing out here, and I'm really sorry.
It's your idea.
I'm sorry to give you a boring answer, but if ask me this after Saturday, and I can give you an answer, because if Villa don't get four, if Aston Villa are close to a crisis, they lose the next 2 games, we're in a crisis.
I don't know what the title is, to be honest.
If they lose on Wednesday, and then don't win on Saturday, then yes, they are in a crisis. But they've got 2 winnable games coming up, and they get out of this. But at the moment, it's worrying. I'm worried about them. It feels like they're on the slide a little bit. Well, they are on the slide, and things need to change. So let's see how the next few days unfold.
Yeah, Ronan Ward, a regular watcher, is trying to catch me out here, saying it's 100, and you're seeing that extra row down. I'll give him a breakdown of the numbers. 797 on X, apparently watching at the moment. 1 on Facebook and 243.
Pick up the one Facebook user.
And zero on Twitch. The one Twitch user that's normally there's not there, letting us down. But yeah, Ronan, I'm not seeing things there. There is that many. I can see. Right. I mean, is there anything else left to discuss? I don't know. You tell me, Greg.
I mean, just to reiterate a point that I made earlier. I mean, Villa aren't too far away from it in terms of how the league's looking still. So that's one.
It's still okay, isn't it?
That's one bonus. But yeah, what we all have to remember, me as a reporter, everybody who's listening as supporters, is that we're not really used to. Villa having to win so many games. So that's why it's so important that Villa need to get back on track quickly, because when you're chasing the top 4, you can only lose a certain amount of games in a season before it fades away. Now, everybody's saying that Manchester City are out of the title race now, which I probably would agree with. Yeah. It's Villa potentially could be a week away from dropping out of the top 4 race.
You think? Is that drastic?
If they don't win the next, if they do not get a win in the next 2 games, it's bloody hard to catch that back up, because a Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Man City are going to keep dropping the amount of points that will allow Villa to get back in. Then it's not going to happen. They need to get their act together quickly and fix it this week, because the league is not going to be so rewarding every single week. It's not going to happen, and I think the league's getting stronger. Brighton are a better team this year. Newcastle are back up there. Chelsea are getting better. So it's harder for Villa this year. Really is harder. They need to get out of this bad run quickly, else very, very soon it could be too late to get back into the top 4. Now, is it the end of the world if Villa don't get in the top 4 this season? No, but they've had the taste of it. People at the club desperately want to stay within it. Supporters, of course, want to stay in the Champions League. And look, okay, there's the option of the 5th place. But I said at the start of the season, I don't think it's a bad season if Villa finish 6th still and have a really deep run in the Champions League. And look, the Champions League form for whatever's happening in the Premier League is still not too bad. They're not conceding goals in the Champions League. And not conceding goals, and are in a very good position. So all is not lost in this season yet, but Villa need to get their act together, because it could slip away quickly.
Yeah, and I just think, in a way, what's happening at the moment, I don't like saying this, but it's just something that's crossed my mind. And people will see the stuff that I point out on social media about Villa off the pitch, but they've kind of done so much off the pitch now that means that they need to be in the Champions League every season in terms of the pricing strategy is very, very aggressive. They almost have to be in the Champions League every season now. Otherwise, those price points that they've set, they don't work. And I do feel in some ways we've kind of run before we can walk, and the club's almost eaten itself up a little bit now, that if we do drop off and, 8 games without a win, I don't think anyone would have seen this coming, in particular people at the club. And people are almost going to ask more questions now because of the aggressive pricing and what Villa have done off the pitch.
Yeah, and it's an awkward one to answer that because, there's a very clear split at Aston Villa. There's the football side of it, which is at Bodymoor Heath, and there's the business side at Villa Park. So, Chris Heck, who's in charge of the business side of Aston Villa, doesn't get involved in any of the football. So, he's making these decisions alongside the owners. And whatever happens on the football side, he's got no say in it. He doesn't have any impact on what Unai Emery does. Unai Emery's the authority over on the football side. So, that the manager's almost got an easier ride because he's only in charge of the football. He hasn't got to worry about what's going on the business side of it. So it's a hard one to try and put together because really what's happening with the business decisions have no real impact on the football decisions because they're two separate departments.
I know. I don't know whether I explained it well. I know.
Yeah, it's hard to get my point across what I'm trying to say.
Well, let's move on from it and finish with the FA Cup draw. I mean, the only more boring draw would have been Villa having to go to West Ham away in the FA Cup third round. I think it's a pretty dull draw, that, isn't it?
West Ham at home, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying the only thing that could have been...
Sorry, I misheard you. But, I mean, it's one of those ones where it's like, it's quite a tough game, isn't it? It's like the Palace game in the League Cup. It's quite a tough game. So you can't really rest a load of players. But then at the same time, it's just one of them games, isn't it? It's just it doesn't bring much excitement, does it?
No, I was with Max and Simon. We were at the German market. And we had the draw on Max's phone coming through. It was just like the draw came out, and he was just like, "Oh, okay, let's carry on." So
you want a lower league team away from.
It's a bit more interesting,
something different, to go away or a local derby, somewhere against the Blues or West Brom or Wolves, something like that, just to add a bit of spice to it. But West Ham at home doesn't really get very interested. But I suppose a good thing is, for people that can't get tickets to games, they might have a better chance of going. And look, we do often forget
to go to those games because it's
result. But I mean, we do often forget about the people that can't get tickets for the big games, and sometimes can't afford it. So I don't know what Villa's pricing strategy would be for the FA Cup, but it might give other people an opportunity, which would be nice.
That's the most positive way of looking at it, Greg. So well done to you for coming. I had Tamworth.
Didn't they draw?
They got Spurs.
Oh, did they? Right, sorry, I haven't seen that draw. But did they? What, they beat Burton yesterday? Then I thought it was 0-0 at the end.
No, they went through.
Oh, right.
I don't know exactly what the score was, but they went through, and they've got Spurs.
Wow, that's a great tie.
To Tamworth, down the road from them. I'm trying to get to that one. I think it's at Tamworth. It is at Tamworth. Yeah.
Is it still the Lamb? Is that where they play?
The Lamb.
Yeah,
the Lamb, Greg. So surely one of the Athletics' finest, Greg Evans, man of the Midlands. I know you're Liverpool now. Surely he can get himself to the Lamb for a game for the Athletics. Surely.
Yeah.
You must be able to.
We probably only get one pass.
Yeah, but I think you've got to tout yourself around for that. That'll be one hell of a game.
No. Accrington Stanley, I'll be at.
No, you get yourself to the Lamb. Who did Liverpool get?
Accrington Stanley.
Oh, that's why you'll be there then. Not just for the laugh. Not go to Accrington Stanley for a laugh then. No, send one of the other Liverpool journals. There's about 10 Liverpool journals, isn't there? Send one of them there. You get yourself down the Lamb, Greg.
Down the Lamb, yeah. Our Spurs guy will be there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true. There's a few Spurs.
We've got about 10 Spurs reporters.
There's Spurs guys at the Athletic as well. Right then, Greg, let's go. Thank you ever so much for joining me and carrying the show at times due to my 3 beers at the German market. It's much appreciated. Thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring us. If you've watched this show live, we thank you ever so much for joining us. Over 1,000 with us at the moment across all platforms, so thank you very much. If you're watching on YouTube, then subscribe to the channel with your post notifications on. Leave us a comment as well and give us a like on the video. If you're listening via audio, then do the things I go on about every single week. If you could leave us a review and give us 5 stars on your preferred audio platform, that would be absolutely exquisite. I'll be back tomorrow night. I'm going to have to squeeze in a match preview. I'm in London all day, but I'll find some time to do it in the evening. I'll get a match preview done with someone tomorrow night ahead of Villa's. It's a huge game against Brentford, now desperate to get back to winning ways. Thanks ever so much to Gregg again. Thank you to those that have joined us live. And as ever, only one thing left to say. It's a big up the Villa from me and a big up the Villa from Global Gregg Evans.
Are you still going on?